David, can you hear me? I can't hear me. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order Tuesday, February 14th, 2023 at 7:05. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Ma'am, at this time, we don't have quorum.
Does anyone see Councilwoman Casals Munoz? Not yet.
Mr. Calvo is absent, Ms. Casal Munoz is present, Ms. Garcia Robes is absent, Ms. Perez,
Yes, present.
Mr. Rodriguez is absent, Mr. Tumidor,
Present.
Mr. Zogby.
Present.
Madam President, you have enough members to conduct business, and the council vice president has asked that I make part of the record that she was unable to be here today due to illness.
Thank you so much, Madam. Can we please stand for the invocation led by Marbelis Bajo, our city clerk?
Lord, we pray for the city council and for the agenda set before them today. Please guide the mayor, council members, and staff in benefit of the city of Hialeah and its residents. Amen.
Thank you. Can we please turn to the flag, and the Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by Council Member Casals Munoz.
You put your hands on your heart and say with me, I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can you please read the meeting guidelines?
The following guidelines have been established by the city council. All lobbyists must register with the city clerk. As a courtesy to others, please refrain from using cellular telephones or other similar electronic devices in the council chamber. A maximum of 3 speakers in favor and 3 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the council on any one item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No signs or placards in support of or in opposition to an item or speaker shall be permitted within the council chamber. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on matters of public concern or on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may address the city council on any item pertaining to city business during the comments and questions portion of the meeting. A member of the public is limited to 1 appearance before the city council, and the speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The public can view public meetings on the city's YouTube page. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do not have any presentations on the agenda. However, I would like to take this time to please make everyone that's here in council chambers aware, and our council members, that in council chambers, we have Lieutenant Eddie Rodriguez. He is our beloved officer here in the city of Hialeah. He's been battling cancer starting, I believe, since summer of last year. And right before Christmas, I believe it was December 22nd, they got a good news that he is in remission because God is good and God is great all of the time, right? And we're very happy to have him back here at the city of Hialeah. He welcomes the police department. They opened him with open arms. And I know that the city of Hialeah Police Department now shines and smiles better that you're there and you're back home, because we all missed you very much, Eddie. If we could please give him a warm welcome.
I keep saying that you guys were part of my recovery because I wanted to get back to work so much. It was something that I just, I love what I do and I love my people, the people that I work with in the city, and you guys were part of my recovery. I thank you guys for giving me that inspiration, especially the love that I received from council, the mayor, everyone, the phone calls, the support. And and most importantly, the prayer. They were in heaven.
Amen. Amen. That's right.
I love it.
We
Oh.
miss you and we love you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming to visit us. Okay, at this time, we have the comments and question portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in council chambers or anyone online that would like to speak before the council? Ma'am, do we have anyone online?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Mister, can we unmute him? Good evening, Mr. Mestre.
Good evening, Council President. Thank you. Just a quick comment. I know that you guys have a proposed ordinance regarding the schools that's on for as an administrative item for first reading. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things that since I've been representing a good number of these, including about 30 that I have pending right now, that in reviewing the ordinance this afternoon, a quick glance at it, some things kind of were stuck out to me. For example, the zoning in residential districts for R3. I think that if you look at the historic schools in Hialeah, they all seem to be built in R1s. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at. Also, on the location, I know that there's a provision here for 1 year, but the 1 year says it's to obtain the required conditional use permit. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Today, your PZ1 item is a conditional use permit that on first reading passed back in November, I believe. And it took us all this time to come back because of issues with an outstanding mortgage that had to be paid off in order to be able to sign the declaration of restrictions that's required. So all I'm bringing to your attention is that perhaps that word obtain is a bit too much. I would suggest that if the folks apply to get their conditional use permit and they're in the process diligently following that they be allowed to continue with that and not just cut them off. And also the no variances regarding the minimum physical standards on the automobile stacking. I don't know if that's something that's going to be applied now, once this passes, all of the schools coming in line.
No.
If that'll
Through the
be
chair.
applied retroactive. Okay.
His time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, keep on going, Mr. Mestre. You
Go
still
ahead.
have time.
Sorry about that.
No, that's it. That's all the comments I have, actually. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Mestre, if you're done on the speaking on the item, I could let Mr. Tundidor, which is his ordinance that he's proposed tonight, to give a little bit of clarity if you prefer.
Yeah.
Go
Gotcha.
ahead.
Caesar, and again, just to be clear there, and we'll confirm again when we discuss it today with Deborah. But this is for the future, for any future schools, and I believe any schools that are undergoing a process today that are trying to fall into compliance, they're grandfathered in, and again, we do a separate process for them, right? Which is what you're doing today, and that was the intent. And again, we'll clarify all that with Deborah as well. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, since it's on first reading, I don't know if I would be able to speak when you actually call it. So one of the things that I do want you to have in mind is there's the requirement for the pre-application now process before you actually apply. So is applying for the ones that are pending now, I'll give you a perfect example. I have about 6 that we submitted pre-applications, but at that time, we didn't know there was a charge, so they were returned to me. There was comments made on changing the plans. So we're in that process before we resubmit again. So I just want to make sure that those folks that are in process don't fall through the cracks once this is approved on second reading.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir. You're
And,
recognized.
and if you don't mind, and again, if not, we'll catch it
We
the next
can,
time.
we can touch on this item once we
That's
discuss
what I'm saying.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
So,
okay, good.
Mr. Meshra, let's do that because I know that there's a few council members and we also wanted to bring Ms. Dorch up to discuss it. If you don't mind, thank you
Absolutely.
for those questions. And that's something, let's see, that we could touch upon and Ms. Dorch could clarify when she comes up to the podium with your permission.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Is there any other person in council chambers or online that would like to speak on any items, have any comments or questions? All right, seeing that there are none, can we please move on to any announcements or amendments and corrections to the agenda?
The following items are postponed until the city council meeting of February 28, 2023, per the applicant's request. Items 11A, PZ4, PZ6, LU2, and consent item B. The following items have been added to today's agenda. Consent items L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, and Y. The proposed ordinance for item 11I has been updated.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Board appointments.
Proposed resolution appointing Michael J. Guerrero Montes as a member of the Beautification Committee beginning on February 14th, 2023, for a 2-year term ending on February 13th, 2025, as one of the 4 city council appointments.
Thank you. Moving
Well,
on to
We need a vote
Michael
now.
Guerrero. Is he here? Is he in council chambers?
No, he's.
Michael?
Yeah, he's still working now.
Okay.
A motion, Madam President, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Zogby and we have a second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz. Can we call the roll?
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda. Do we have any council members that would like to pull any items?
I would like to pull L through Y and A through M. Joe, you go to your.
Okay. Okay, so scratch that from the record.
Watch, really fast.
Okay,
And
so anybody else have any items they want to pull? Maybe A through Y now? Nobody? All right, going once. Anyone?
Motion.
I have a motion from
Second.
Councilmember Zogby and I have a second by Councilmember Tundidor. Madam, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The consent agenda has passed.
Okay. Thank you. We're on to administrative items. 11A.
11A is postponed, ma'am.
11A is postponed. 11B.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending chapter 2 entitled Administration, Article 3 entitled Boards, Commissions, and Committees by amending Division 3 entitled Cultural Affairs Council by designating it as the Cultural Affairs Committee and striking special events from its responsibilities, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Zogby.
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Tundidor.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. Item 11C.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18 entitled Businesses, Article 2, Special Events, Section 18-26, Purpose and Definitions, to provide that a commercial event is not only for a remuneration or monetary gain, and Section 18-30, Application Process, eliminating review by the Cultural Affairs Council Committee to conduct special events, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on the item?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Casals Munoz and a second by Councilman Zogby.
Mr. Zogby? Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes,
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you. Item 11D.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hialeah entitled Administration, Article 2, Departments, Offices, and Divisions to change the division head title for the Division of Finance and the Budget Division from Assistant Director to Division Director, providing for a severability clause, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is also on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on the item?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Zogby and a second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz. Madam, call the roll.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes,
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you. Item 11E.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance providing for a primary election to be held on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, and a general election to be held on Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, providing for the Miami-Dade County Elections Department to conduct these elections and other matters relating thereto, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Again, this item is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on the item?
Motion.
I have a
Second.
motion by Councilwoman Casals Munoz and a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes,
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you. We're on to item 11F.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance setting the election date for the general election for the year 2023 for the date of Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, for the office of the city council whose terms have expired pursuant to municipal powers vested by state law according to Florida statutes, sections 166.021 subsection 4 and 100.3605 subsection 2, in order to conduct elections on the same date as other municipalities, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
This item is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item?
Motion.
And second?
I have a motion by Councilwoman Casals Munoz and a second by Councilman Zogby. Madam, call the roll.
Ms. Perez.
Yes,
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you. Item 11G.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance providing for the early voting time and location as allowed by state law, specifically sections 101.651, subsections 1A through 1D, Florida statutes, designating JFK Library as an early voting site for the November 7th, 2023, City of Hialeah primary election, beginning on Monday, October 30th, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., on Tuesday, October 31st, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., on Wednesday, November 1st, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Friday, November 3rd, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., on Saturday, November 4th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and on Sunday, November 5th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and providing for early voting at JFK Library for the general election, if a general election is held, and in particular on Friday, November 17th, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., on Saturday, November 18th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and on Sunday, November 19th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on this item?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman
second.
Casals Munoz and a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Ms. Perez.
Yes,
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you, Madam. We're on item 11H.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending chapter 78 entitled Solid Waste of the Code of Ordinances, Article 2 entitled Nuisances, Section 78-37 entitled Donation Bins Prohibited to allow for donation bins on city-owned property, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for inclusion in code, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Again, this item is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on the item?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Zogby and I have a second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. All right, we're on item 11I.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending the Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 entitled Zoning, Article 6, Supplementary District Regulations, Division 5, Uses, creating subdivision 14 entitled Private Schools, creating regulations that provide the safety and wellness of school-aged children and require proper traffic and adequate internal circulation and ensure compatibility of uses, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, madam. Considering this item is on first reading and the sponsor is Councilmember Tumidor.
Thank
Um,
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Madam President. So and Deborah, if you come up, just to engage on some of the questions that we may have and that Cesar brought up. But just to be clear on the intent of this ordinance, this is something that we've worked on together, all of us staff, the mayor's office, and to figure out what is the best way to make sure that, most importantly, we keep the children of Hialeah safe, right? Public safety, kids' safety is the number one priority for us. And so this is a way that we can somehow address that, right? So I just want to be very clear on that. So Cesar did bring up some good points, and I'm looking here, and so I just want clarification on a couple of things, Deborah, if you don't mind. The first one being the language specific to having 1 year to obtain the conditional use permit. Can you just walk me through that for a second?
Well, this means that before 1 year passes, they need to come and apply, obtain the conditional use permit. Many of the applications that we receive, he have 30 applications. And many applications, they are applications that they just bring and there's no reasoning behind. If you have a school, if you had a daycare with 50 kids and you expand into a school and you want to have 40 schools more, well, 40 kids more, you should explain what is happening, how you're going to accommodate the space, the traffic. So I thought that maybe 12 months, maybe we can give a little bit more, but we should put a limit. If not, these applications will be waiting forever.
Okay, but I thought that the schools that are in question today would be somewhat separate from this ordinance.
Yeah, they are separate. All the requirements that are here will not be enforced to these schools, but we want them to come forward so we can give them the conditional use permit with the conditions that we think that they will need to comply to be able to accommodate the use that they
Right,
want
so
in their property.
Didn't we already give these schools a window to comply?
No, the
No.
last time that you incorporated something similar was when you adopted the distance requirements for smoke shops. And so in recognition of the fact that it may cause some of those schools in question to be unable to comply with the distance requirements, you built into that ordinance also like a grace period, a moratorium on an enforcement per se, to allow them to come in and establish their use lawfully. What we see is that we have a number of schools who basically failed to obtain a CUP. These are the only schools that we're talking about, because if you are currently a legal non-conforming use prior to 2008, when the CUP was created for the establishment of a school, then as long as you continue to operate in the manner in which you establish the school use, then you're considered a legal non-conforming use with respect to the distance separation requirement from smoke shops, as well as the requirements of this ordinance. What we see and what I believe the clients that Mr. Mestre is referring to is those applications which you have seen of recent, where we had daycares that weren't subject to the CUP, established schools without a CUP, and basically created a violation, right? They are in violation. And, we've identified the list as best as we can. I think that's something we're going to bring forward to you at the next council meeting. So you understand the scope of the problem, the number of those persons, of the persons involved, or the businesses involved. Those schools need to establish their
Right.
use.
No, of course.
Right? They need to come in, they need to apply for the school license. They need to go through the zoning process, they need to go through the building process. And so seeing that we're adopting these new regulations, or we're proposing regulations that may cause some of those operators at the sites where they're at to be unable to comply with these new requirements, then we've kind of created, a moratorium on enforcement to allow them to come in and obtain whatever necessary zoning relief they need. But we need to provide a window in which they can do that. And that's, I think, the conversation that we're having.
And there is also some urgency that comes from the fire department, not fire, but the fire code requirement. So even though if we expand this window, they still need to comply. If not, fire cannot sign their educational.
Right, and I think that's the timeline that I was talking about. So at what point does fire say, hey, we can't sign this anymore? What is it? Is it next year? Like what?
I think that now as a courtesy, they are like extending it 1 year, but I think that after that 1 year, they won't extend it anymore.
So I have a question now that you.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Are you done? Or just to make sure?
So I know, I mean, I had two more points to make, but just on this note, if you have something to add.
On specifically on what he just said. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
go
through
ahead.
the Chair, I apologize. When the fire goes out to the property, because we're doing CUP.
No, they don't go, they need to go every year to sign them their license.
Right, based on the right. They have to go and based on the license that they have from the city and the state.
From the city.
From the city. Okay. The problem that we're having in these schools are now that you brought up the issue with the fire, the problem that we're having in the schools is that I'm sorry, I had the conversation with the chief recently. The problem that we're having is that when they go and look at the license says daycare, right? But they've been running as a school because they have a state license to be a school.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a conflict because the city doesn't have the license. So when they go, they see that it's daycare, there's certain requirements for daycare. So the fire department is looking at the school as a daycare, and the children that are there are older children. So you have different requirements from a daycare to a school. How do we get, and they fall through the holes, how do you get in this ordinance, do we address that issue? Because the state has given them the authority to be a school in a property that's not allowed to be a school.
From an educational point of view, they allow them to operate as a school from an educational point of view with an umbrella number of children, but then that doesn't need that. They don't need to comply with zoning requirement. The daycare doesn't have the same parking requirements than a school.
Wait.
So-
Say what you just said.
If I
again, I'm
may,
sorry.
what they're being issued through the state is through children and families. So they have a separate certificate through children and families that allows them to operate for certain certificates. And this is where this gets gray.
But you just said from children and family, is
Is
that a
through the state.
school?
So children and families allows a ratio. They work by ratio and they work by age groups.
But
So these
school or daycare?
schools, so if I may,
sorry.
these schools then are getting a certificate through depends what they apply for. So a daycare could apply for zero, an infant, to pre-K, and that could be a daycare, but they could also then apply for a license that is from 0 to 2nd grade. So these daycares could run they're called daycares, but they could have kinder, 1st and 2nd, because that's a primary grade. It's not considered an elementary level. So that's where this gets kind of gray with this ordinance, because it does umbrella different age groups, because children and families and the state is allowing them by ratio, by adults, by who's certified with CPR. However, when we have, and this is the problem we've been having with zoning, when they go through zoning, if you have a daycare, you need to have your walls halfway because they need to be able to see the kids. You have to have an exit in the front and an exit in the back. And a lot of these shopping centers don't have exits in the back, so it gets a little bit complicated. But that's what fire now looks for. They look for those requirements that is different in zoning that the state isn't imposing. But then they're being certified to have these classes all the way up to 2nd grade. So if we're saying that we don't want to allow this, it gets a little bit gray because the state and children and families is issuing them to educate up to a certain grade level. So that's where it becomes difficult, because we may not allow these businesses to perform at that license. So that's where,
It's not that we are not allowing, we are working with them through the conditional use permit
Mhm.
to see what the physical characteristics of the site allows them to have in that area. There are schools that it was a house, it started as a daycare, they have no parking, maybe they had a front yard with 3 parking spaces, they converted that into a playground, now there is no parking, and suddenly there are 40 more students. So there are limitations also. All those cars that don't fit in the property and all that traffic is into our streets.
Chief, can you add for the fire aspect of this?
Yeah, the state certifies an educational facility, no? As far as us, they're gonna always abide by what if we say we're within the NFPA standards, you know, and that's what we gotta follow as far as, standard for the schools. So regardless, that needs to be followed. We've been working with a lot of the schools, so this doesn't just pop up and say, hey, you need to do this. It's like, hey, by next year and the following year, and actually we gave them more moratoriums.
Right.
And some don't follow, no, and the bottom line is the safety of the kids.
Right.
For instance, we had a school, they had 1st graders on the 2nd floor. There's certain age groups that you can't, when they exit, they gotta exit a certain way, they have to be on the ground level, stuff like that. And it's unfortunate, no, because what it is they have a daycare. Then they like the teachers of the school and they want to, I like you, can you stay? And then they go to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and they start creating grades, and we'll approve them because at first you don't realize, hey, the kids are getting bigger and
grows.
bigger, and
Yeah,
then
the parents like.
you
to
realize,
keep
and
it
you're like, look, you need to go apply, you need to go to the city and go to zoning and start
Right.
growing your school. And that's where the issue started coming.
Right.
But we've been working with them. The problem is we can't continue, next year you do it again. Yeah, we've had
So-
several moratoriums, at least on our side.
So the list that's on that is the 20 schools, correct?
I don't know if it's 20 or more. Many came, many were approved, many are in the process of being approved, but some others didn't come.
And it isn't like
Okay.
the kids are in danger, but they need to bring it up to code. It's the bottom of fire code.
I mean, it's a risk though, Jeff, through the chair. I mean, it's a risk, right? I
Definitely,
mean,
definitely.
yeah, so.
I know, it just gets great
Mhm.
with the state. Because now we have to, I think that, well, did we run that? Do we have that data of which of these daycares run
Yes,
up to what grade level?
they have that. And
They
I
have
think-
that data?
And I think the mayor, I think we've also discussed this where we understand that the state has put the carriage before the horse, right? And I know that the mayor has had conversations with Tallahassee to be able to address that, but I think in the meantime, something should be done because we're exposed and we do put these kids at risk.
Agreed. The bottom line is the safety of the kids. And
Absolutely.
everything's fine till the day something happens, and then who is responsible? Why didn't they do something? Why would you have a moratorium?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
So for the record, the schools that are already in their locations, they're grandfathered in. This is only for new and upcoming schools?
There's no grandfathering in when it comes to the fire code.
No, not for this ordinance, not for zoning. When it comes to the
Parking spaces.
Yeah, well, doesn't
Yeah.
mean they are grandfather. They need to come through the process and then we'll evaluate. They will ask for the parking variance or for
Right, this
whatever
won't be
they
in-
need. You will evaluate it and you will approve the variance or not.
Now, Deborah, I had another are you, both of you done? I had another question, if I may. I know that when we evaluated the smoke shops, we discussed about certain zoning areas that they were gonna be zoned out and then that could come back to hurt us, no? Because then they have no locations. And considering that this is a standalone building, have we run that data to make sure that we're not zoning out any business?
The schools, we're not zoning out anything because these zonings that we put here are the zonings where schools were always allowed.
Mhm.
In R1, schools were never allowed. There are some older nurseries were called in the 50s and 60s that has special use permit to operate from homes. But the land use and the zoning has always been R3 and medium density residential is the minimum.
Okay.
Did you just say that, I'm sorry, through the chair, did you just say that there wasn't schools in R1s?
Let me say, for example.
That's what I
public
understood.
Schools don't come through the city.
Correct.
They have land use, major institutions.
Correct.
Major institutions, the zoning that goes with that land use is whatever is around. So many are zoned R1. The old schools that some nurseries.
like Palm
nursery
Avenue 59,
schools
that's
were
in a house,
R1, they all had SUPs. And I'm telling you this because when I just started, the land uses were done only once a year. So there were some properties that they wanted to do a daycare, so they needed to come first to change the land use to medium density residential.
Right.
Wait 1 year and then come and rezone the property. So at that time, we created a conditional use permit and special use permit that would allow you to have a daycare in an R1 zone property. But that happened around 2004, 2005. In
Right.
R1, the schools were never allowed by right, no, I mean.
And are we addressing, through the chair, are we addressing the schools and daycares in shopping centers that we've been talking about for years?
The
That's what
ones
this
that
is.
are- it's not that-
That's what
yeah,
this,
Those are the non-conforming that will come through the conditional use permit and we will work with them to see how we allow them.
The
new
ones that already
yeah.
exist?
In the
Mhm.
future, no one can come to a shopping center and start a school
No
from a
Thank you.
shopping center.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's,
so if I may, that's something that I commend you on, because having, a school and a shopping center where there's a cafeteria next door, where they could be serving alcohol at such a close proximity is something that I think needed to be evaluated. And I thank you for bringing this forward. I do want to be able to work with these businesses though that are existing and maybe coming up with some wording that encompasses those schools and those daycares that go all the way to a second grade level. So I would like to sit down and kind of mull this over a little bit. Maybe we can make some changes when it comes to the wording of that.
For the what? I'm sorry?
The wording that it, it encompasses like daycares. So if there's a location that wants to open all the way to second grade, I just want to go through it and check with legal and make sure that there's not like a gray area. But I'm 100% comfortable with the idea of not allowing them to open anymore in the shopping centers.
Yeah.
But moving forward with the ones that we still have to do the CPUs, we're gonna have to see how that works out. That have already been issued that license.
Yeah, so so we can, I'm not following. So is it an amendment you want to do?
The CUP, she says
Yeah.
CPU, but it's CUP.
Right. So what's the amendment that you want to do?
I'm gonna speak to her just to make sure that the schools that go all the way to second grade, that the ones that we have to update, that we don't cause any problem with that licensing.
Okay.
So I just want to check.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to check with them.
Perfect, sounds good.
They still have a little bit of doubt when it
All
comes to that.
So, and again, I want to commend all staff and the mayor and the mayor's team. We had a big like an outreach program, a couple, what is it, maybe a month ago,
A month ago.
where we invited all of these schools that
And you
were out
sat
of
with them.
compliance. And we gave them all, I think it was 2 hours to just speak to all the department heads and including fire to
That's
figure out how
amazing.
to work things out, right? So that's a great
And that's
job.
good because you allow them a moment to ask
Yeah.
any questions or any doubt that they have. So that's good. You're working with them.
All right, so I motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Tundidor.
Second.
I have a second by Councilwoman Casaus Munoz.
This is a motion to approve, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Tumnidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for February 28th, 2023.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Did we answer all Caesar's questions?
There was a stacking and the pre-application, but we can get that in the.
Yeah,
second-
yeah, because
most
we had
definitely.
told them that we would give them the opportunity. We started talking and I don't think we did.
Yeah, I'll talk to, I'll
Okay.
catch up with Deborah.
Okay.
All
If
right,
I
we're
could
on to
just-
unfinished business. Is there anyone with any unfinished business?
What happened with Caesar?
Yeah.
Moving on to new business. Do we have any new business?
Right. Okay.
All right,
Okay, perfect.
here,
Thank you.
happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Moving on to zoning,
I think we should table all the zoning items.
motion to table. Do I have a second?
While those persons who will be testifying on an item, please stand and raise your right hand.
Las personas que quisieran prestar sus opiniones delante de esta junta, por favor, pónganse de pie y alce la mano derecha.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. If so, say I do.
Usted jura o afirma que el testimonio que va a dar será la verdad, toda la verdad y
Leila.
únicamente la verdad, y
Okay.
que Dios sea su
Thank you,
testigo. Por
appreciate it.
favor, diga que sí, si la respuesta es afirmativa.
Let the record reflect that all have responded in the affirmative.
En el archivo público constará que todos han respondido afirmativamente.
The officer.
Why didn't you tell me that when I was saying hello?
Ya nos vamos ya.
We're gonna have to start buying snacks for them.
We started. or no? Did you already read it to the?
Okay, go.
Read it. Read it.
Monica,
Easy
can we start, can she start reading?
Yeah.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a K through 3 grade elementary school with a maximum capacity of 27 students to be dropped off and picked up in 3 shifts in conjunction with a 14 children daycare and a total of 5 staff members, and granting a variance permit to allow 6 parking spaces where 9 parking spaces are required. Contra to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-2189, subsection 4D, property located at 367 West 29th Street, Hialeah, Zone C2, Liberal Retail Commercial District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Easy one, yes.
We're on second reading and public hearing of item PZ one. Do we have anyone in council chamber that would like to speak on the item or anyone online?
Good evening, Cesar Mestre with offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida. I'm here tonight with Leslie Picayo, who's also on Zoom, the owner of this property. There was a full presentation with slides at the last meeting, which was back in November. Since then, we've proffered the declaration of restrictions, incorporating all of the conditions set forth by staff. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. You have a recommendation of approval from the P and Z board and from staff. We would respectfully ask that you approve this on second reading.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
Just to go over real quick, the conditions, can you just, because I wasn't here at the last meeting either.
No, this was in November.
Oh, I don't.
This was in
I don't
November.
I don't remember.
the cases where the
Yes.
school was there, it was.
Put the microphone, if you may, closer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is one of an example of a school that was there, started as a daycare, expanded into school. So
Got
we
it.
worked with them to figure out how the traffic would work in the
Okay.
best way possible.
Yeah.
We put that in a declaration of restrictions that they signed and now everything should be in
And
order.
this is up to third grade, correct?
This is up to third grade, yes,
Okay, so it's a daycare and then it goes up to third grade as well.
exactly.
Okay, perfect.
yes.
Just want to make sure we're clear with that. All right.
It's not like a real grade anymore either?
It has a Department of Educational license,
There we go, yeah.
Department of Education license for elementary education.
Yep.
Right.
So they transferred and they created that after they were a daycare,
Okay.
because the kids went growing with them.
So this is kind of
Right?
similar,
Right.
Madam President, to what you were saying.
Yes,
So
yes.
up to second grade, this one's up to third grade, and they're here today, and we're working.
Right.
with
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
Okay.
And we've
Sometimes
been-
there are things, we work with them for a long time because they were proposing at the beginning more students. The parking was not enough. It's not a safe area, 29th Street, close to Red Road.
Right.
There is a shopping center. There were certain things happening with parking in the shopping center and going from one place to the other. So we figured out together how we could make this better. And these were the things that we came up to do and with those limitations. And now everything should work
And-
the best way possible.
Yes.
And Deborah did work with us extensively on this to get us to this point where we're very on the verge of approval. But this is a perfect example of my worry with the time. We've been working on this for 2 years. I was just looked at my contract with the client was March of 2021.
Yeah, but
So
many things happen in between. For example, well, since October from there, the problem was that there was a problem
Right.
to sign the declaration of restriction. So maybe, I don't know, the city attorney, maybe we can put something, some kind of a force majeure or something like that, that if they started the process and there is something that things can happen that can be extended.
right, that's exactly my
That
concern.
can
That's
be,
it.
you said?
What?
It
You said
could
that
be.
can be?
That
That could be
it
extended.
yes.
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah, good. So there's right now, 7 new conditions that were added and they've been added already. They've been agreed to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, do we have a motion to approve with conditions?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Tundidor and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes,
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you. Item
Thank
PZ
you
two has
very
been
much.
withdrawn by the
Happy-
applicant, and now we're moving on to
Valentine's.
PZ 3, second reading. Happy Valentine's, Mr. Mestre.
Valentine's Day.
I'm on
Sorry,
a
and
roll.
I just want to say, I tabled 4 of my other additional items, so I was doing my part for today for you guys to get. out
Thank
of
you,
that.
sir. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
We'll hear them without you, Caesar. right?
Mr.
night.
Mr.
Thank you.
Urza didn't get the memo. All right, we're on to PZ 3, please. Second reading.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance rezoning properties from R1 One Family District to R33 Multiple Family District, granting a special use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-1630.8, to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district overlay, and granting a variance permit to allow only residential uses where a vertical mix of uses is required. Allow residential use on the ground floor where residential uses are only allowed above the ground level. Allow front setback of 3 feet fronting East Sixth Avenue, 7.25 feet fronting East 26th Street, and 8 feet fronting East 27th Street where 10 feet built to line are required. Allow a 10-foot interior side setback where 15 feet are required. Allow 26.2% pervious area where 30% pervious area is the minimum required, and allow 56 parking spaces where 63 parking spaces are required. All contrary to sections 98-1630.1, 98-1630.2, 98-1630.3, subsection E1, 98-590, 98-2056, subsection B1, and 98-2189, subsection 16A. Properties located at 585 East 26th Street, 591 East 26th Street, and 595 East 26th Street. Folio number 04-3108-001-2570 and 04-3108-001-2580. Hialeah zoned R1, one family district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on the item? Go ahead, sir.
Motion. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to speak, Alex.
No.
Alejandro Arias, 7 on Brickell Avenue. I'm here for any questions you may have, but
Okay,
You
we
got
have,
my- You have my motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Zagmi and I have a second by Councilmember Tundidor.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zagmi?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you very much and happy
Thank
Valentine's
you.
Day.
Likewise.
Likewise.
PZ 4, please.
PC four is postponed.
Postponed until the next meeting. PZ 5.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a special use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-161, to allow a mural outside the Artist Live Work Overlay District, Alwood geographic area, where murals are allowed in the Alwood District, property located at 1675 West 49th Street, space 1004, Hialeah Zone C2 Liberal Retail Commercial District, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Deborah? If you may. Give me a little bit of information.
Murals are only allowed in the Leah district.
Okay,
That's why they wanted to do a mural. There are many murals in the city that have no permits.
okay.
So what I am advising them is to come and ask for a special use permit, so you can look at the design, we can see if it's appropriate. And in this case, it's the back of the shopping center, the Westland Mall, and
Mhm.
it's a design that has to do with what they sell, that is sneakers, so the recommendation is approved.
So we're reaching out to all these buildings and having them update and get a
Well, when I
permit for
have
what's
the
already been there.
opportunity, because some are developers that are doing other things, when I have the opportunity, I bring that to their attention.
Okay,
But there are some in the city that should be code enforcement enforcing.
so
that
code
issue.
so this didn't go through code enforcement. This is
No,
them.
this one, they didn't even do it. They came, they asked, they are asking for the special use permit, and when we approve, they will do it. They
okay.
go and do it.
Okay, and what, do we have a picture what this looks like?
Yeah. Do you have it?
Is
with
it in the
your-
backup?
Yeah, there's a color picture. If you don't have it, I have it here.
It's not. Oh, what happened? No picture.
Yeah, I think it's in the plan she said. I'll pass it to you. if you want. Oh, okay. It's at a Foot Locker? It's at a Foot Locker?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sorry, it's Cindy, well, this is a first reading, right? Never mind. All right. So is it, Deborah, is it like a credentialed artist that's doing this, or how is it that?
I don't know if it's a credential.
I'm sorry, can you repeat
Yeah.
the question? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, just I want to know if it, like, who, you know, the artist, is it someone that is
Credentialed?
I guess that's.
Artist or
that's a
artist, you don't
great
have to
way of
be
saying it.
credentialed.
Well, like.
Is it a credible
a-
artist, I guess?
Like
An
a
artist
recognized
is an artist.
Because my daughter does art too, right? And she's.
Yeah,
too-
but no, this is
Okay,
nice.
let me see.
Well, what
No.
we look at is that is something harmonious and it's not offensive.
What did you look at what?
That
It's not offensive.
harmonious with the building and
Oh,
it's
offensive
not,
is
and not
depending on who
offensive.
sees it, right?
And not offensive.
Oh, no, it depends your humor, how
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
offended.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's nice. Is the person that's online, is that the artist?
No, I think
She's a
he's
registered
representing the firm.
I can't see.
I'm not the artist.
Oh,
I am,
okay.
Heather from Fall
Yes.
Riverside.
Yeah, it's nice. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being with us tonight, Miss Cindy. No, we just wanted to look over the backup. Do we have a motion? Any council member?
Motion.
I have a
Second.
motion by Councilwoman Casals Munoz and I have a second by Councilman Tundidor.
I love art.
Me too.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for February 28th, 2023.
Congratulations, Cindy.
Through the chair.
Yes, it needs a second reading, but
Yes, yeah.
Deborah, I wanted to ask you a quick question. So you said that that you're looking at the murals, because there's a lot of murals that have gone
Yeah.
up in the city. So what we're looking is to go out to those and then say to come and ask for permission
we should.
Yes.
after being out there for 2 or 3 years?
Yes.
4, 5? So that's what we're doing.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
asking.
We have to do things right.
We can pass a moratorium.
There you go. All right, PZ 6 has been postponed. We're moving on to land use. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential to residential office. Property located at 320 Northeast Eighth Avenue, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
How many times have you been here?
The last 50 years?
No, for this.
Oh, for this item, 6, I believe.
Are you feeling better?
Yes, I
Good.
am.
I'm happy to hear.
After the flu, it became bronchitis.
Oh, Lord. Yeah,
But
I'm happy. to
I
see
had
you.
x-rays done last Friday.
You're
I'll be
better.
here for a while.
Good, I'm happy to hear that. So this item is on first reading. Okay, Mr. De La Paz, would you like to speak on the item?
No, there's nothing. I just, for the second reading, I'll be bringing you a defined site plan with all the measurements that will be set on stone for the future.
Motion to approve.
And second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Gonzalez Munoz and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor, Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for February 28th, 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you. LU2 has been postponed. And now we're on to final decisions. FT1,
Proposed resolution approving the final decision of the Planning and Zoning Board, decision number 2023-01, granting an adjustment on the property located at 120 East 53rd Terrace, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district, and providing for an effective date.
thank you, Ms. George. So this item, yeah, I remember, okay.
This
This
is for
item-
it's a freestanding pergola on a
Uh-huh.
property, so the condition is that the pergola remains as a pergola, an open air structure.
Was it a closed structure? It
No,
was-
no, it isn't. It
They
isn't.
have-
They have to legalize it.
They
So
have to
the
legalize it,
condition
got it.
is to keep it as it is.
Okay, all right. Motion by Councilmember Tundidor, second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. On to FT2.
Proposed resolution approving the final decision of the Planning and Zoning Board, decision number 2023-02, granting an adjustment on the property located at 875 East 8th Street, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Deborah, can you give me a little bit of insight on this one?
There is a legalization of an addition and they're requesting the rear setback. We looked at the layout. So the recommendation is to approve with the condition that no exterior doors are added to the gym. And that the property will continue to abide by the 30% drainage requirements once that the work is done.
To the gym, so
The
made an
rear
addition.
addition, they have a gym with a bathroom, so we are asking them not to put an exterior door. If not, that can be easily converted into one efficiency.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
A motion by Councilman Tundidor, and
Second.
a second by Councilwoman Gonzalez Munoz.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. Now, we still have something on the agenda. We have the last part, which is city council discussion. And I have a big discussion that I want to go into, if you don't mind. What do you mean, no? All right, this meeting concludes at 8:05. Next meeting is February 28th?
Yes.
February 28th. Thank